Not good. Hey guys, welcome. Hopefully you're having a great day so far. I had some pretty extensive notes about what we're going to be talking about today, but it looks like we are not having those notes. So, number one, guys, you have to always make sure, like, when you're first starting out, you have to really believe that numbers are possible. So, I was talking to one of my students, in the mentorship program, and she sent me this message. She was like, "Hey, I've collected $36,000 already this year," and I was like, "Awesome." I thought we already knew that. And she goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "We've been talking every single week, and every single week that you say that you collected more money, you got a new client. Like, this is kind of what it adds up to." And the funny thing was, like, she was like, "Oh, I was so surprised," because she never put any of her like business stuff inside of QuickBooks. So let's kind of talk about today, guys, like how not to get surprised when you make $36,000 within about 3 months and 9 days. Okay, now how did she even go about getting that much money in a very short period of time? We're going to break that down today inside this video. But before we do that, if you're watching this thing live, write hashtag team live so I know that you're here with me and I can make this a little bit more interactive. If you're watching this thing on the replay, type in hashtag team replay, and then I'll know I can like leave some stuff for you guys here. Hello, Diana. Hopefully you're doing well, Diana. Hopefully you're doing well. Grateful for you guys to be here today. I know that today is kind of a busy day for a lot of people, so super excited for that, okay? So guys, I know that when I got started, like if I had videos like these back then, like where someone was giving it out for free and actually just showing you guys and talking about like what are the different lessons that, it takes to be able to start making more money, dude, like I'd be so much further ahead. So step number one, okay, we have to make sure our mind is right. Okay, a lot of people, I've spoken to a lot of people, and probably in the past like 2 weeks, who have a lot of fear. When I say fear, it's not just like fear about, whether or not the business is gonna work. It's not about like fear about can they get clients. It's really more about just like a fear in not being able to trust themselves. Hey Jessica, I see you are also on Team Live. And really what it comes down to is you have to start learning how to rebuild trust in yourself. Okay, number one, it comes down to keeping commitments to yourself. For example, I know in times in the past, like when I have said I was going to do something to myself, right, where it's like, hey, I'm not going to eat this piece of sugar, but then I like eat the chocolate and I just keep eating, I keep eating, keep eating, keep eating, keep eating, keep eating, right? Then the next time I say it, I believe myself a little bit less and a little bit less, right? And then there causes this fear that builds up, and it's just like, well, I couldn't do this, and I couldn't do this, and I couldn't do this, and I said I would do this, but I didn't do this, and then I ended up being like, well, is it going to be the same thing with my business? Am I going to try my business and it's just not going to work? Am I going to try and get this client, but it's just, for whatever reason, I'm just not able to do this stuff? And really what it actually led to was me always thinking in the past, like, could I actually run a business? Am I really a business person? Is this really for me? And I really had to just rebuild my sense of confidence, right? Because when I started the first 6 months, I was doing terrible in my accounting firm. I was doing so bad, right? And like my confidence was just destroyed. And it was funny because I'd be like walking around different places, and everyone would always ask me like, "How is your business going? Like, how are you making six figures out with your accounting firm? Are you a millionaire out with your accounting firm?" And I'd be like, "No, I have one client. The person was paying me like $150 a month. I got rejected day in and day out, and it was just like everybody would always ask me that, and I would always feel like I would have to like kind of avoid talking to people, go either to my desk, go to my seat in church, go to the gym, of just like run past all my friends and not talk to anybody." And I was just so nervous because it was just like, man, just nothing was working. And it was a really bad feeling. And it wasn't until I really just started like making these micro commitments to myself. For example, one micro commitment was I would just show up every single day and I would just go and outreach to 5 people on the internet. So I would go and open up my LinkedIn account and I would message 1 person, 2 person, 3 people, 4 people, 5 person. Then I would just kind of like stop for the day, right? And I would do that every single day for a month. And I just kept building and building that muscle. And then the next thing was, okay, so now we started talking to people, and I started getting better at like, getting people on the phone. right? And then my goal would just be, don't even worry if the call was to close. Just go and do at least one call per week, right? So I'd be like scheduled one consultation per week. I'd be talking, and then sometimes the person would say no, sometimes I'd be nice about it, sometimes I'd just kind of disappear. But I just said, okay, cool. I'm just gonna try and do it just consistently, just either one per day or one per week, as many as I possibly could. And I would just incrementally build that thing up, right? And then after I got good at doing the calls, I would like fail at a bunch, then I would get incrementally better, and I started paying people to review my sales calls, right? Then the next thing was, okay, cool, let's see if I can consistently get a client. So if I can do like 10 calls and maybe one person signs up, that's going to be a win, right? So I would just be like, boom, and I would do like 10 calls, 10 calls, 10 calls, and finally someone signed up for my accounting service. And then I would just try and do that. And then I would try and get the closing ratio from, instead of 1 out of 10, to be more like, maybe 1 out of 7. So I would do 7 calls, I would get 6 no's and then 1 yes. And then eventually I would try and get it down to 1 to 5. And then what I'd try to do is like try and incrementally increase my price, right? So rather than, my average quote being, $400 a month, I would try and get the average quote up to $600 a month. And then over time, I just incrementally kept building and building and building and building and building. And that's how I really got that confidence in myself to know that not only can I make the business work, but at the same time, if I was to lose all my clients, I could go and rebuild again because I have that skill set and that confidence in myself. So that's number 1. Number 2, now that you have confidence in yourself, you need to start charging the prices that you need in order to hit this goal. A lot of people, they don't really understand the fundamental role that pricing plays in your business. If you don't have good pricing, it doesn't matter how many calls you do, how many clients you get, you're never really going to hit the real goal. You're going to end up having way too many clients, you're going to be running yourself ragged, and what this leads to is you, 1, resenting the business, and 2, you're never really hitting your income goal because you can never really build up enough money to be able to leave your job. So now you're kind of sitting in this limbo area of working 40, 50 hours per week for your job because oftentimes, in the accounting field, they tend to work us really, really hard. Right? And then on the other hand, your business can never get up to a certain point because after work, you generally don't have a lot of energy to keep trying to do marketing on top of doing your client work. So it ends up just being this just kind of mess where you're half in one. Mentally, you're kind of frustrated with your current job, but at the same time, you're only half in with your business. And then most people try and quit their job, and they think that if I quit my job, then I'm going to have a lot more time to build my business. Only now they have more time, but they don't know what to do with that time. They're still charging these low rates. Pretty soon they have 30 or 40 clients, and it's just a mess, right? So instead, you need to kind of do it the other way. So learn how to charge the right prices. We're always shooting between $500 to $5,000 per month per client, right? And of course, this is after looking at the scope. We're not just looking at a business and be like, oh, I feel like charging $5,000 per month. Just because, it has to be reasonable with what they're actually what the scope of work says. If the scope of work they have 5 transactions, it's gonna be really hard for you to charge $5,000 unless you're doing virtual CFO work and those transactions are incredibly important that they have to just know what it means, right? But that's why I always give all my students inside the mentorship program. I give you guys a pricing calculator, so you know exactly what you need to be charging as soon as you actually see the book. So whether you see there, if they have QuickBooks, they have Xero. If they have a GL, you know exactly what to charge in that very short period of time. So you have supreme confidence when you're putting out your quotes. Now, the second thing that you have to understand with pricing is not just a straightforward thing. Okay, because there's a difference between what someone can pay you and what somebody will pay you. Oftentimes, if you don't know how to communicate with the right person or you don't believe that the price you're asking for is possible, the amount that someone is going to, pay you is going to be a lot less than if you had supreme confidence, you knew you could actually get it, you knew this is a fair price, you knew this is exactly what the person wanted, what they needed, and you could actually charge 2 to 3 times more and they'll still accept it. Right? It's just most people, they just don't really know what that boundary is, and they just take whatever they can get. And they say things like, I know I could be charging higher, but I want to make sure I get the client. Maybe they'll be able to afford to pay me more. It's just I want to make sure I don't turn them away. I don't want to turn people away. I don't want to scare people off because my price is too high. When in actuality, what you need to be doing is thinking about your time and protecting your time as much as possible. Right? Because if you charge the right amount of money, it allows you to do 3 things. Number 1, it allows you to be able to get closer to your income goal with less clients. Number two, since you have less clients, you're able to actually give way better service for the clients you do have. Number three, the more that someone is willing to pay you generally means that their business is a little bit more stable. So you're going to be able to retain them for longer periods of time. And that's kind of the holy trinity of why we're pricing the way that we do, right? Because one, we want to make sure we can have deep relationships with our clients. Two, we want to make sure we're making a good amount of money so we have financial security. Number three, we want to make sure we can retain the clients for longer so we don't really have to be masters at marketing and do marketing for the rest of our career. We want to make sure that we can just like get as close to the goal as possible and stay at that goal as long as possible. And that's really pricing. So if you understand pricing, you understand just the foundational role it plays in this, put a 1 down inside of the chat below. Put a 1 down inside of the chat. If you have any questions as well, please put that inside of the comments as well. And also, if you want some help growing your business, but you're tired of like making a lot of mistakes that most people make that cause you not to reach your goal, go ahead and click on the link inside the description below to book a call with me to see if I can help you. Now, I can't help everybody, but just not everyone's a good fit, to be completely honest. What I do is very specialized, and we want to make sure we can get the best results for everybody who joins the program. So if that's you and you're thinking about, joining my program, go ahead and click on the link inside the description below to book a call with me to see if I can help you. Hey, Anna Jean, hopefully you're doing good. I see some ones in the chat. Diana put a 1, Anna Jean put a 1. Awesome, guys. Next is marketing. Okay, so marketing is a really, 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 really important thing. Most people do not really understand marketing, though, because they think that you have to do 1 million posts. They think that you have to go and, be this, like, talkative person that gets on videos, like you see me doing videos right now, right? Marketing, when you're first starting your business, anywhere from like $0 to $10,000 per month, is more about the relationships that you're able to build, right? That's why a lot of people in the olden days, they used to just go to networking events, right? Because before the internet, they didn't have this ability to be able to reach out to someone, ask them questions about their business, ask them questions about their life, talk about current events, talk about like different things that are going on, current events, talk about just anything inside a person's life, and keep doing that every single day to the same exact person, right? You would have had to drive 2 hours to go to an event, to go talk to someone who would be potentially willing to pay you money. And you go back home, you have to drive another hour the next day to go to their office, actually like do the consultation call, right? Nowadays, we don't need to do that. All you need to be able to do is just go on social media and be able to connect with the right business owner. Now, this is one of the biggest blessings, but it's also one of the biggest, obstacles that you have, right? Because if you go on LinkedIn, right, there's 23.5 million business owners alone on LinkedIn, and that's just inside of the United States, okay? How do you decipher which of the 23.5 million people to go to? Okay, so there's a couple different ways that we like to do that. Number one, I personally like using LinkedIn because there's a lot of different search criteria you can use on LinkedIn to actually filter down to a really, really, really targeted list of who is the best potential people to start building the relationship with. Another great option for you as far as selecting and knowing who to speak to would be to actually go inside of Facebook communities. Now here's the key. Facebook communities for the average person is extremely challenging. Number one, because there's a lot of like groups for entrepreneurs where it's basically just them going and like posting a bunch of flyers about their business. It's like, share your business. And those are really hard because you're not really going to get a lot of business inside of there, right? Because they're just there just to post their stuff. When you try and interact with them inside of the comment section, or even if you send them a message, they're just not really there. They're just kind of posting and hoping someone comes to them, right? The other type of group is more of like an industry group, right? Because there are certain industries that love using Facebook, and they come together to congregate and really just talk about their problems, their pains, their concerns, and just different happenings inside the industry. Now, if you can learn how to tap into about 3 to 5 industries, I'm not saying that you have to like niche down to one, it's more like 3 to 5, and just start joining groups inside of them. So for each one of the industries, if you go join like 3 to 5 groups per industry, it's going to make it really easy for you to be in contact with the right business owners. Your job is to go and just try and interact as much as you possibly can, and for every single person you interact with, your job is to start, maybe either sending a friend request or continuing the conversation in the direct messages. From there, it's all about learning. Like I give all my students like an exact message script of exactly what to say so that you guys can know exactly like, hey, You say this first, you say this second, you say this third, you say this fourth. If the person does not respond here, this is what you're actually supposed to send to get them to respond next time. And then so and so and so and so and so, right? And it's very sequential, so it allows you to be able to actually get people on the phone at a much higher rate. So therefore, you don't have to do as much work, but you get better output, right? And it's just a process of learning how to go and build those friendships, learning how to go build those relationships. For this specific student that actually got to the $36,000 in, what is that, 3 months and 9 days, the way that she was able to do it is because she just had this like critical mass of people who she had been building relationships with. Right, for the past, I think it was like 90 days she's been building those relationships. She specifically uses LinkedIn because on LinkedIn it's a little bit easier for her to identify who is a target. Then we use a message sequence to really just identify who is going to be in market for our service at that time. And oftentimes what happens is a lot of people say like, hey, I'm looking for this service, but right now is not a good time because of X, Y, Z thing. And a lot of people get really discouraged by that, right? They'll be like, no one wants it, or they said not right now, or they said they already have somebody. If somebody on social media tells you they have an accountant, a bookkeeper, a CFO, an office admin already in place, that is the best possible thing that you can have happen because you have just identified that this person is a potential buyer for your service over the span of the next 3 to 5 years, right? Because most of the time, there's a lot of turnover in our industry. Right? Oftentimes, bookkeepers, they'll be working for someone, maybe they'll be working in-house, maybe they'll be working remotely, and they just get tired of working with certain clients. They just drop out. So if you just sit there and stick around long enough, you're going to be able to actually go and get a lot of those people that originally told you that now is not a good time. It's just you cannot afford to get discouraged and start feeling down on yourself and then, stopping. You just have to keep going, keep building more and more relationships. And then there comes a time in a season where a number of those people that said, hey, now's not a good time, they actually all come back around right around the same time. It's really weird. Like, there was a student, his name is, actually, no. Who's a good example of this? Probably, I think Paul is a good example where he had like 4 or 5 potential calls in the last week, right? So he had like talked to a number of people on LinkedIn, and they'd all kind of either like stopped the conversation midway, or they said it wasn't a good time, right? And that was about a month and a half ago. Now he booked like 5 or 7 calls this week from people who originally had told him it's not a good time. And most people, they're going to quit, right? They're just be like, oh, it doesn't work. The message doesn't work. I told him, hey, don't quit. Don't give up on those people. Just keep talking to them. And now he has 5 calls booked in the calendar for, I think he did 1 today. And then he's like 4, I think he scheduled them for like Monday or Tuesday of next week. All that to say is like there's a time and place. You have to keep building relationships and being extremely consistent, keeping your mind extremely like focused on your objective, keeping your promises to yourself, keeping your promises to others, charging the right price, and then you're going to be able to go and start growing the business that you want, guys. It's really that simple. As long as you don't quit, you're going to be able to really make this thing work. The challenge that most people face, hey, Courtney, hopefully you're doing good, Courtney. Hopefully Courtney's inside of my program, and she's doing really well. So is some other people who are watching this thing. But yeah, all I have to say, guys, as long as you don't quit, like, you're going to make it. Now, again, if you want to be able to speed up the amount of time that it takes and increase the likelihood that you're actually going to reach your income goal, right? I recommend you go ahead and click on the link inside the description below. Because again, like it could take you 3, 4, 5 years if you're doing it on your own, right? Because there's so many different mindset hurdles you have to overcome and different things you have to learn. Rather than instead of like learning those things the hard way and the long way, just partner with someone who's already been there, like myself. I just say, hey, do this, 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 and then you just copy and paste what I tell you to do, and all of a sudden you're making some money. I don't know. Who are you gonna be? Do you want to do it the hard way, or do you want to take the easy way? Now, hopefully you enjoyed watching this video. I really enjoyed your time. Talk to you guys soon. Have a great rest of your day. Take it easy. See you soon.